We begin at 6 with brand new developments on a track meet incident gone viral.
A local NAACP chapter is also weighing in on what happened to a student athlete getting hit by a baton. There's a good chance you've seen this video of a track meet in Lynchburg between a student from the area and an IC Norcom High School athlete. Now, charges of assault and battery have been filed.
Aisha and Tom, we got that charge of assault and battery confirmed by the Lynchburg Commonwealth's attorney, and Portsmouth NAACP says it's concerning, saying that the viral video that many have seen does not warrant this kind of response.
The girl at the center of the viral track video that struck another girl as she passed her has been arrested, has been charged with assault, and we gotta talk about it, plus a bunch of different other various updates, including a Good Morning America segment where they decided to flip the script and say that the attacker in this case was perfectly innocent, including using a doctored video in order to do so. We gotta break this down, we gotta talk about this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
So look, we talked about this story before rather recently. I will link that in full in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. But the long and short of it is Virginia was having a statewide race. It was a sprint. You had two sprinters from opposing schools. One sprinter, a junior at one school, ends up passing a senior sprinter at another school. And when she was passed, we saw this absolutely outrageous video, which included what appears to be the girl in question reaching back and clocking her on the head with the baton. And by the way, the victim in this particular case had suffered a concussion. Obviously, the striking girl ends up being disqualified from this event, and this, to me, is something that should not have raised to the level of a national story, but I understand with the viral video and the outrageousness of an incident like this occurring in girl sprinting, why people are paying attention to it, even though I will say these are teenagers. Let the kids be kids to a certain extent. Obviously, consequences for the attacking girl, we all understand that, but then the story started to churn a little bit because we ended up seeing a local news segment where the striking girl was playing the victim. She was crying into the camera. She was talking about how people were calling her ghetto and whatnot. And throughout the course of that, she started to make the story or try to make the story about the racist comments that she was receiving. And of course, this interview did not go over well at all whatsoever. And people were really mad. Now, of course, Good Morning America, a national platform, was platforming the victim in this case, not the alleged aggressor. However, this girl was trying to get her name out there in order to defend herself, which is understandable because even though they weren't naming her, pretty much the people in the area knew who it was.
The other family spoke with the news station in Roanoke asking for an apology from Alaila, something she wants to give, but she says the other athlete hasn't been receptive, blocking her on social media, and instead the Everett family was served with court papers.
And now we have to go to a city 3 hours away that everybody hates our guts already.
They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video.
Now, they also talked about how there was a budding lawsuit against them that was given by one set of parents to the other set of parents. And by the way, if you will remember, the only person, according to the victimized family in this particular case, that actually reached out and issued an apology from the family of the perpetrator was the father. So that's where we left the story. That's where I thought it would end. I did not think this would reach the level of criminal charges, only to discover this morning upon waking up that the perpetrator in this particular incident, who is now the alleged perpetrator because she's actually been charged with a crime, has had assault charges filed against her for her actions on that particular track. And what's interesting about this is that this follows up a Good Morning America segment where they make the case that the video that you see from the front angle is incredibly deceiving.
This morning, Alaila Everett, the track star at the center of that viral video showing her appearing to hit another runner in the head with the baton, is speaking out.
I would never do that on purpose. That's not in my character.
And then they doctor the video from the back angle in order to remove the strike to make it seem like the girl fell on her own and got a concussion.
Everett says the incident is a complete misunderstanding, pointing to another angle of the race as proof.
And again, people have pointed this out on twitter.com, but you could see when you compare the two videos side by side, they are cutting really quickly from the girl revving up to strike to all of a sudden her going back, even though it is clear and obvious that she did make contact with the other person, not to mention the fact that the girl had a concussion. So obviously there was some level of striking. And by the way, in the original long form interview, we have the alleged perpetrator in this incident not denying it, not saying that there was no strike. She was just making an excuse for it.
The baton was literally like her arm was literally hitting the baton like this until she got a little ahead and my arm got stuck like this.
Now look, Alaila Everett is making the case that it was an accident, and I understand her trying to do so. I understand why she would want to, because obviously this video went viral. Obviously this is wildly inappropriate, and obviously anybody who could see it sees that it looks intentional. But the difference in excuses from her different various interviews, in my opinion, does not help her case at all whatsoever. What it looks like, and again, this is what it looks like, it is all alleged right now, even though we have the video, is that this girl was passing her, and then she struck her in the back of the head. And she could say whatever she wants on Good Morning America, but I actually ended up finding the 12-minute interview that she gave to the local news affiliate. And by the way, we have to address something about that 12-minute interview, because when I played the short snippet from the local news segment that they produced that's about 2 to 3 minutes, some of you thought that I edited in an audible chirp from a smoke detector, which I assure you I did not. A lot of you stamped that particular time code, and I'm telling you, that is not only in the original news segment, it's also throughout the course of this local long-form interview that they did with her in her home.
When they nearly collided with each other.
Okay, after a couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this.
I actually didn't notice it underneath the audio in the video that I was using clips from, because it had all the stuff with the production of the news, but it's definitely 100% there. And friend of the channel, Devin Tracy, actually did notice it, and he did a video, and he made in that video a visual representation of how many times the smoke detectors, plural, ended up chirping throughout the course of the video. And it started out like this, and let's just say it ended up like that. By the way, you can go to censored.tv, use promo code RUDE for a discount if you want to watch Devin's content. He's absolutely hilarious. He's still got it, and this video honestly made me laugh out loud. And for those of you who are unaware, there's essentially a stereotype about Black Americans. Some Black Americans, maybe more hood Black Americans. Obviously, it's not all of them. We understand what a stereotype is or what a pattern is. And basically, the stereotype is that they don't change the battery in their smoke detector because they don't realize that the battery needs to be changed in their smoke detector. So you hear an audible chirping from said smoke detector indicating that they need to change the battery. And I just want to say, if you are a Black person out there in the audience, please, for the love of God, buy 9-volt batteries. Do not have this chirping going on constantly, because even though this is obviously not 100% true of all Black America all the time, it has happened enough times that people have obviously turned it into a stereotype, turned it into a meme. And very unfortunately, in the middle of this story about high school athletes, where we should be focusing on whether it's intentional or not intentional, we have multiple smoke detectors beeping. And I don't think you guys understand, but by my count, there's at least 3, possibly 4 smoke detectors beeping during the course of this 12-minute interview. Again, as represented by the graph that Devin made with all the different smoke detectors animated in.
First things first, what day did this track meet happen, and what exactly was this meet? Was this state? Was this what was qualifying all the state? Give me those details.
It was the state meet. It happened on Tuesday. The state meet was on Monday and Tuesday.
So if you guys were paying attention, if you had your listening ears on, there were 2 smoke detector beeps already within the first 20 seconds of this particular interview. Now, you guys might have heard the quieter one, or maybe you didn't hear it, but obviously you picked up the louder one, which appears to be in the room that they're in. And I do want to mention for everybody out there in the audience who is curious about this, that the woman conducting this interview is in fact a Black woman. But here's the thing. The smoke detectors, when they run out of battery, beep in a similar frequency. So they might beep every 30 seconds, or they might beep every 20 seconds, or whatever, but obviously they're going to beep at the same time frame. So we can actually use that loud beep, the one that's in the room, that, by the way, the Black local news interviewer doesn't notice either, as our baseline in order to deduce how many detectors are currently in need of a battery change at the same time at this girl's house who is trying to say that people are being racist and calling her ghetto when quite literally her home is a stereotype.
I received the baton. Our second leg merges, so when I was merging.
So right here we have the loud beep as she's getting into her story, and this is obviously the one that is closest to her. That's how microphones work.
Our second leg merges, so when I was merging, I was like, okay, I'm doing good. I only see one person in front of me. Then on the curve, I seen something yellow in my peripheral, which was her uniform. And she was so close to me that my baton kept hitting her. And it's either keep hitting her or fall into the metal railing that's on the bank track. So eventually, like, after a couple times.
So yeah, we start with the loud beep or loud chirp, if you will, and then we hear 3 quieter chirps before the loud one from the smoke detector that is in the room or closest to them beeps loudly yet again. So we have 4 smoke detectors that are chirping minimum in this particular household, and that is absolutely absurd. Do these people in this home not hear that? Do they not notice that that constant chirping, which would bug the crap out of me, is going on all day in like 10-second or 20-second intervals in their home over and over and over again?
My baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. She was cutting in when it happened, when she should have waited a little bit longer. But she cut in too quick, so she was so close to me that she got hit when I was running. So, yeah. Then when I hit her, I kept my baton up so I wouldn't hit her again because she was still really close to me.
How do you not notice that? How do you not notice that as the girl? How do you not notice that as either of her 2 parents? How do you not notice that as the news person that this girl and this family is in desperate need of 9-volt batteries in order to change the smoke detector battery so that they can be safe in case there's a fire? Again, these are meant to protect you, and you don't notice that they're chirping weirdly. What do you think happens when they beep rapidly to actually signal you that there's a fire? Now, I'm actually starting to think that this problem might be a little bit more widespread than I thought. Now, obviously, it's a stereotype. Not all. Give those caveats and all of that. But if you really think about it, that chirp would drive you insane if it was in your home. That would bug the crap out of you, especially 4 different chirps at different intervals going off constantly within such a short period of time. So maybe, just maybe, the real reason we have elevated rates of crime in Black communities is because of that chirp. Maybe that chirp is driving these people absolutely insane, and I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, but do you really expect me to focus on the story when this beeping is constantly happening? Now, of course, look, I'll try. I'm gonna go to her explaining it, but just understand that that's bugging the crap out of me, and I did not, in any way, shape, or form, edit that in.
So that whole, the collision that people see, and like you explained it, you're pumping your arm, getting ready to run forward, and that's where that forward motion comes from. That was not you intentionally striking her with that baton, right?
Yeah, plenty, like, people that I don't even know at my school found my Instagram and texted me because they know it's not in my character. Even other track teams like Norview and Manor texted me because they know that's not in my character.
Definitely. And talk to me about how it's made you feel when you see that video has gone viral and you read the hurtful comments and you see people who don't know you at all making comments like that.
Now look, I gotta be perfectly honest with you, this story that she's telling to the local news makes no sense at all to me. It seems ridiculous, it seems absurd, it seems completely contradicted by the video, because you can actually see her rearing back before the strike actually occurs, before the other girl feels the contact on her head and ends up stumbling to the ground off the track. And again, she doesn't even check on her after that contact is made, and apparently she didn't actually try to contact her to apologize according to the victimizing family, but she says that she tried to DM her via Instagram, but then was ultimately blocked, possibly probably because it was too late at that moment in time for this girl to get the contact. Now, of course, she plays the victim repeatedly throughout the course of this particular interview, which I am not a huge fan of, but I do want to say for everybody out there in the audience, I'm not somebody who's actually really all that on board with the assault charges in this particular case, because it is a sports thing. Obviously, it is a non-sports maneuver. It's totally inappropriate, and I understand that, but does it rise to the level of assault when it's something kind of heat in the moment inside the confines of a game that's inappropriate? And I think the consequences should be for the game. Like, think about it like this. If you're playing baseball and somebody throws a pitch and it ends up hitting the other player in the back or the head or whatever, and by the way, the head is very dangerous when you're playing baseball, please don't throw at people's heads, then that is considered to be a hit by pitch and you are awarded something. In this case, the baton strike ended up resulting in the disqualification of this girl's team, so there was punishment for it, and then you go to first base. Now, obviously, if you went outside on the street and randomly threw a baseball at somebody's head or back, that would be assault, but in the confines of the game, we tend to kind of view these things differently. So even though it definitely looks intentional, even though it definitely looks like an assault, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about criminal charges being attached to this. There's obviously a pending civil suit, but does it really serve justice for this girl to plead guilty on this particular case? Even though, in my opinion, the video looks very damning, I just don't feel like something that was like an instant kind of move that's totally inappropriate, totally unsportsmanlike, totally wild, that she defends with a bunch of different various excuses. Maybe that shouldn't escalate to criminality, because look, kids fight in sports all the time. Things like this, well, not like this particularly, kind of happen. And even though this is an extreme example of this, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this. And again, you're talking to somebody who is not soft at all on criminals, not soft at all on black crime, not soft at all on youth black crime. But the fact of the matter is, this is kind of a little bit different. Now, look, I make that case, I give you my honest, genuine, thoughtful opinion, despite the fact that that chirping is really getting on my nerves, and it's just the chirping that I'm listening to in this particular video, despite the fact that her explanation seems ridiculous and absurd. But I want to know what you guys think about all this. What do you think about this particular incident? Obviously, it is completely outside the bounds of what is normal in sports. What do you think about Good Morning America doctoring the video from the alternate angle to make it look like no contact was made? And what do you think about the possibly 4 smoke detectors that are going off at the same time that neither this girl nor anybody in her family nor the local news reporter nor the camera person seem to notice? Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute craziness of this Virginia Sprinter story. Till next time.